Good morning. This is Dottie Lofstrom with the Civil Service Commission. We have one member who will be coming a little bit late. He is expected to be here by 2:40. So we are going to wait and start the meeting then. afternoon. This is Dottie Lofstrom with the Civil Service Commission. It's Wednesday, October 11th, 2023, and the time is 2:40. And I bring this meeting to order.
Thank you. We'll go with roll call. Commissioner Lofstrom.
Here.
Commissioner Gutierrez.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Arulapan.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our first action today is to approve the minutes, assuming that everyone has read it. Do I hear any comments or corrections?
I do have something to say about the minutes.
Okay, the floor is yours.
The minutes aren't, they're fine, they're the way they are. I just think they're not complete. My point that I make there, where it's my concern of the continued use of the word interpret, it's not just the word interpret, it's interpret the laws. When that's used for a job description for a government employee that's in the administrative part of our branch of government. For example, a police officer is in the administrative branch of government. But a police officer can't go to your house and search and seizure, do a search and seizure without what? A court order. Because a police officer, although he's in charge of enforcing the law, implementing the law, he does not interpret the law. He says to you, if you're the one that he's going to at the door, I want to go in and I think there's criminal activity going on, and I want to go in there and seize the property that I believe is contraband. Now, he knows that you're not going to let him in. What does he have to do? He has to take it to a judge who is available 24/7 in all the counties, that where they have to take a report, and they give a report, and they in the report he puts the laws down that he believes you've broken, and he gives the evidence of why he should be able to go in and seize the property. The judge looks at it. The judge says, is this constitutional? Is this a search and seizure that can be upheld under our Constitution? The judge decides, may say, yes, okay, I'm going to give you an order. Or the judge says, no, that's not enough evidence here. You better get some more evidence and come back if you think you have the evidence to do that. Now that is interpreting the law. Now why is it so important? Under our system of government, it's the most important thing. It's what makes us a free nation, a free people, because only courts can interpret the law. When our country was founded by the founding fathers, they made 3 branches of government. Not 1, 3. One of them to make the laws, legislature. One of them to implement and enforce the laws, the executive branch. And one to determine whether you're doing it fairly and constitutionally under our Constitution. And that's interpreting the law. Now, when our country was started, there was no other country that had that. They had kings or queens, and when the citizens were upset about something or fighting each other about something, what did they have to do? They had to go to the king's court or the queen's court. And the king decided. Because why? The king said, I am the law. I will interpret my own laws. And I'll decide what's fair and who can get what and who doesn't get what. That's interpretation of the law. Now, we have what's going on in our country today. And it's not just today. It's been fought throughout our history that the executive branch of government has tried to get employees in there, have tried to interpret the law. They've tried to be able to say, we can do that without a court order. We can, like, you're the president. You can do this. You can go there, Mr. President, and you could go down into the states, send our army and collect those voting machines and bring them here, and we can investigate them, and we'll find how they've been cheating. You go down there and do it, because why? You're the president, and the president is the law. president can't do wrong because he's the president. And then the other people on the other side of the administration, oh, no, Mr. President, better not do that. No, you do that. You send people down there, well, you better get prepared to go to prison because you're going to be breaking the law. Because you can't do that without a court order. You cannot interpret the law. Fidel Castro, when he overturned his government in Cuba, first thing he did, he nationalized all the corporations that were doing business in Cuba. He said, you're doing business in Cuba, I'm taking it over. I don't care if it's airplanes, trains, you're pumping oil, I'm taking them all, and I'm not gonna pay you a cent for it. Our governments got upset. Hey, you can't do that, Castro. It's against international law, and it's against the laws of Cuba. And what did Castro say? He said, yo soy la ley. Yo soy Cuba. I am the law. I am Cuba. Well, that's not here in this country. It might be in Russia that a police officer can go and break into a house and doesn't need a court order. They can do it in China. They can do it in Venezuela. They can do it in a lot of other countries. Not this country. It is a pinpoint that is so important. And that is why I will not allow that interpretation of the law be a task that a government employee in the administrative branch would have that on their job description. It's wrong and it's illegal. So I want the minutes to reflect fully that that's what my concern is. It's not interpret. We have interpret in one of the job descriptions right here, which is fine. It's interpret, it's the I don't know how to say that. Epidemiologist. Yeah, in there. And how is it used? It's interpret.
The data, interpret the data.
Interpret the data. Okay, yeah. Interpret the data, interpret reports, that's okay. Not interpret laws. Now, that's the point I need to make. I'm not trying to be a hard ass, I'm not trying to be a gadfly, but I think it is the most important thing in our government. That's it.
Well, thank you. That was certainly very impassioned. You clearly believe in this, and it's moving what you say. I would be curious to know, and I'm sure you've written it out for us, how you would like the minutes exactly to reflect your concern.
Maybe I should go with the secretary after and we can discuss it. I mean, I think the points that I made, well, no, let's all it has to do right here is say, understand that.
So if I could suggest,
Do you have some language?
on page 2 of the minutes, and this is the second to last paragraph before the end, it says, Commissioner Gutierrez expressed concern of the continued use of the word interpret in job classifications. Could we just amend that sentence to indicate the word interpret when applying to laws and regulations?
Yes, for employees in the executive branch of government.
Okay, so what we want to do is capture your concern so that the minutes accurately reflect it. And I believe what was just suggested is good, although I didn't add what you said. So it would be like this: discussion within the commission noted that there's still some disagreement in regard to the proper, improper use of the word interpret when applying to laws and regulations.
For employees of the administrative branch.
Oh, okay, you said executive, and so that's why I was not adding it. And I think you're just confusing things when you say employees of the administrative branch,
Why is that?
because aren't you talking about pretty much everyone here in San Joaquin County employment other than attorneys?
No, attorneys can't interpret. judicial
The
branch.
court, sorry, I
courts,
misspoke.
Only
So,
judges.
okay,
Administrative branch is all employees on this county. I mean, they're all executive branch. They're all under executive branch except for the people elected.
Yeah, so, Commissioner Gutierrez, you and I spoke after last meeting. We are working on getting a meeting scheduled so we can kind of dive into this a little bit and get some assistance from our county council and the
Sure.
council to the commission to help guide us in this.
Yeah, what I'm
Which I
concerned-
think is going to be helpful, and probably for, just from a layperson's view of this, we are a division of the state, right? Where the county is a division of the state, and we likely aren't translating our roles on a regular basis to the administrative, the legislative, or the executive branch, because,
Well,
for
but
instance.
even employees of the state you're still in the executive branch of the state government.
well, let me remind you, this is just to reflect your concern.
Right.
That's all the minutes are. It's just to reflect your concern. So I just think it would
But
be,
I need her to understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
is
I
that-
think she did understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so I think, and to the chair's point, the item before us at this point is to consider the minutes. So we'll talk about the amendments to the minutes from our last meeting, and then outside of the meeting itself, you and I can discuss getting that meeting scheduled so we can make sure we're addressing your concerns in a way that's satisfying.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll add the words when applying to laws and regulations. It's not the most elegant, but that'll work.
Yeah.
And laws and regulations for government employees that are in the administrative branch or executive branch of government.
Sir, this is just the minutes to we're.
No, but that's
we're
what
ex-
I'm saying. That's what I
None
said.
of the minutes go on and explain everything precisely. Just, that will capture your concern, and then we can have a chance to return to this.
Yeah, but that would mean, if you don't put that in there, it means that someone in the judicial branch can't do that, shouldn't have that written as a task.
Okay, I'm going to ask, is there a motion to approve the minutes adding when applying to laws and regulations after the word interpret? And do I hear a second?
Yeah, I can second that.
Okay, there's been a motion that we're going to amend, oh, wait, before we do that, I'm so sorry. I know there's been a motion moved and seconded. Before we move to accept the minutes, were there any other concerns that you had in the minutes before we move to that?
Yeah, I feel what Anthony is mentioning, the wording should be very clear. So his concern, that's what his concern is. So if you say the interpret, even last time I mentioned, within the braces, maybe you can give the meaning of it. So the people who was reading it, they get the exact point. What do you want to say? Okay, so that you feel comfortable on that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we accept the meeting minutes with the additional words. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose?
I still think that when the way you have it there, it's all employees. It's not all employees. It's not, if we had people, okay, that's all right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So with that, we are moving forward.
I'm going to stop you real quick. Mr. Gutierrez, I didn't understand your vote on that. Was that for, or were you opposed
Or abstaining.
or
No,
abstained?
I'll prove it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, moving on, there is a report of disciplinary action, which is in your packet, and the motion here would be to accept the report. Do I hear a motion? A motion to accept. And a second?
Yeah, I accept that.
Okay, and all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And there's no opposed, that motion passed. And with that, we move to Amy to talk about the brand-new Enterprise Resource Planning Analyst position.
So if I could just clarify, this item is a communication item, and Amy's going to briefly explain it.
Good afternoon, Chair Lofstrom, Commissioners. Amy Brimmer, Human Resources. At your meeting of September 13th, 2023, a new class Enterprise Resource Planning Analyst was adopted with classification code RM1183. In an effort to maintain a consistent internal numbering system, the class code for this classification will be changed to RM0207.
Thank you for that information. We appreciate it. Moving on, we have Molly with the Office of the Medical Examiner classification.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Molly Boonslot with Human Resources Classification and Compensation Analyst. The Office of the Medical Examiner requested Human Resources to evaluate and consider removal of the California Peace Officer Standards and Training Post PC 832 Arrest and Firearms course as a special requirement for the Medical Examiner Investigator Series. Upon review, Human Resources concluded that the removal of PC 832 course is an appropriate course of action, as the Office of the Medical Examiner is not a post-affiliate or participant, nor do medical examiner investigators have powers of arrest, carry firearms, or enforce penal code. Rather, medical examiner investigators are responsible for identifying the deceased, notifying next of kin, and determining a manner of death. Additionally, a job analysis and survey of comparator counties shows success in the Medical Examiner Investigator Series is best achieved from on-the-job experience and industry-specific training as opposed to a formal education. As such, Human Resources adjusted the educational requirements from a bachelor's degree to an associate's degree in an effort to increase candidate pools. The draft class specifications for the Medical Examiner Investigator Series was shared with SEIU on March 26th, and the union responded with no issues. On the line, we have Healthcare Services Director Greg Diedrich. And if there's anyone else from the department that may answer any questions in regards to this classification, please introduce yourselves if you are.
Okay, I will open the floor for questions or comments on this change. I myself have no concerns. I don't see any here or any questions.
No, I don't have any concerns. I think it's very well written, well done. And I'd move that we approve it as presented unless there's any other problems, questions.
No, second.
Yeah, no comments, yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the project of the classification of the Office of the, from the Office of the Medical Examiner to amend the class specifications for the investigator trainee, the medical examiner investigator, and supervising medical examiner investigator proceed as described in our papers. Everyone in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, no. It has passed. And Molly, you want to carry on with the epidemiology program manager?
Yes, of course. For epidemiology program manager, so Public Health Services has historically had difficulty with recruitment and retention for their current Management Analyst 3 position housed within the Health Informatics Division. The Management Analyst 3 classification is commonly used throughout the county, performing physical and general administrative leadership duties. The Public Health Services requested the creation of a classification, the Epidemiology Program Manager, with a specialized background in epidemiology and biostatistics that would more ideally and adequately lead the county's efforts to report, surveil, and investigate communicable diseases that can affect the health of the community. Human Resources shared the new class specifications with San Joaquin Management Association on September 21st, and the association did not pose any objections. On the line with the, on the line remotely, should you have any questions, I believe it looks like it's Barbara Albertson from Public Health Services.
Does anyone on the commission have any questions or concerns?
We're good. I'm good, yeah.
You move to adopt is that what you said? To adopt the classification specification for epidemiology program manager, is that what you said? Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, I accept, yeah.
Okay, I didn't want to interpret if
No,
that's
no.
not what you said.
Yeah, I'm good.
Do I hear a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did you hear four? Okay, no opposed, so the motion has passed. And next we have Amy.
Okay, this one here is to introduce retitling and amending an existing classification, outpatient clinic assistant, retitling to medical assistant. In January 2023, San Joaquin General Hospital requested to retitle the classification specification of outpatient clinic assistant to medical assistant and adjust the qualifying patterns. Although the request was limited to just changing the title and minimum qualifications, Human Resources collaborated with subject matter experts identified by the 3 county departments that use this outpatient support and care classification. We have the hospital, correctional health, and SJ Health. We also referred to California Code regarding the definition, use, and qualifications of medical assistants to ensure that requested changes were compliant with state regulations. Information collected from all of these sources was used to arrive at the content of the classification specification and corresponding minimum qualifications that are before you today. Should the commission adopt these changes, the approximate 120 current outpatient clinic assistants will experience an in-class title change to medical assistant. By function of the county's approach to grandfathering, corresponding language in the class specification allows any incumbents who do not meet the county's new minimum qualification pattern to be grandfathered into the new title. Per our typical protocol, a courtesy copy of the draft class specification was shared with SEIU on September 29th, and the union did not respond with any feedback. At some point, I think we've had nurse manager Betty Jo Reindell on the line, and if anyone else from the department is available, that would be from the hospital and possibly others.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Betty Jo Rindell.
Thank you. So does any of the commissioners have a question or a comment they would like to make?
I'd like to ask that,
Oh, Mrs. Sterling, would you turn your microphone on?
keep forgetting that little button. If you could expound a little bit, explain to me a little bit about the incumbents who at this time are classified, have the classification project of 23-017. What is it, what do you mean when you say in class? And can you just sort of explain expound on that a little bit? What's going to happen to that employee? How does that,
Sure.
I don't understand what that is, that wording.
Yeah, that's what I refer to as the grandfathering language. And so this is a standard language that in some classifications throughout the county, if we are changing the minimum qualifications in particular for that classification, and if there is potential for existing incumbents of that class to no longer qualify under the new minimum qualifications, we will grandfather them into that and then move forward in hiring those folks who do qualify under the new minimum qualification pattern or patterns. However, one thing that we do note is that California Code Title 16 does specify who can qualify as a medical assistant. So we did ensure that any people who may potentially not qualify under our new pattern, which is one that is also compliant with state of California, does comply with another pattern that is allowed through the state. So, because we are we're removing patterns of qualification from the classification itself. Probably should have led with that piece.
those are people that have been doing the job and are doing the same job that we're describing here.
Correct.
Now, how is that gonna affect people coming? This is only going to affect existing employees? Because I see that it's, and if I'm interpreting this right, you remove the need for a 1 year performing the duties, the experience, and we're down to just having the completion of a medical assistant program training. This is outpatient, right?
Correct.
So it sounds like they're directing that outpatient with the supervision of a licensed,
Yes. That's part of a definition of what a medical assistant can do, is performing work under
is
the
that
direction.
normally what that entry level would look like for a person just coming out of college?
Correct. It's an entry-level support, outpatient support assistant that can perform administrative duties or some technical assistance. There is a bit of training. Obviously, that's what the minimum qualification allows for, but it is a very entry-level class.
What are the, and I'm asking, am I okay to ask these questions, or?
It is okay. I was wondering if Ms. Rondell, Betty Jo, if you might want to respond?
Absolutely. I'm Betty Jo Rindell. I'm the nursing manager for the outpatient department at San Joaquin General Hospital. And we have we have our current classification of outpatient clinic assistants that are performing unlicensed assisted duties under the supervision of physicians and licensed nurses. All of them, with the exception of perhaps two in my department, have all graduated from a medical assistant program. And that is what we are looking for. Two of our existing outpatient clinic assistants have been in position for over 6-7 years, and they were they were qualified for the position because they had worked as a nursing aide or one of the other entries to the program. But they are all doing the work of medical assistants. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense now. It moves a
Thank
little
you,
bit
Betty.
slow, but it gets it after a while.
It's all right, and also it takes a while to pick up some of the language,
Yes,
and you'll get used to that. But you are encouraged to ask as many questions as you want.
that could be a dangerous,
Up to 3.
thank you.
Okay.
And if I could just add, the one, where we typically see that grandfathering language, as Amy said, we're eliminating one of those qualifying patterns that has existed, but we don't want to harm that employee. We want them to continue to qualify for the position, because it's a requirement from them to maintain their position. So we don't want to harm the employee, and that's when we use that grandfathering language to ensure that they can still maintain their status in that classification and continue to do the great work that they do. This time now from an outpatient clinic assistant to a medical assistant.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yes, and being a grandfather, I appreciate that.
Are there any other comments or concerns?
So that qualification is based on both the experience as well as the certificate, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
No, the qualification is based on their past experience plus the certification, right?
Their past experience.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are you speaking about those that will be grandfathered into a medical assistant, or those that are coming in?
Those are coming in.
Okay, those that are coming in are required to have graduated from a medical assistant program. And then as they enter, then of course we do the training that is expected of their location where they're going to work and things that are specific to what they're going to be doing.
So they are fresh from the graduate and the certification.
Some of them are, some of them are brand new graduates. Some of them have actually had the opportunity to do their externship from their colleges in our clinics.
Okay.
So it is, yes,
Okay, got it, thank you.
thank you.
Okay,
Okay, I'll move that
Give
them-
we approve the amendments to the classification specifications of outpatient clinic assistant as presented.
and do we have a second?
Yeah, I can second.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? And the motion has passed. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to public comment.
Moving on to public comment, we do not have any online public comment. Is there anyone here that has public comment? No, no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Our next meeting is scheduled for November 8th, 2023, back here on Wednesday. And with that, this meeting is adjourned.